not sign those. And going by the party's constitution, these are the authorities, especially the chairman or the deputy chairman. That's why I said at the court he could have grounds to say, okay, look, this was not a valid suspension.
It was the opinion that they were coerced. Some would say yes, they look, but we didn't see any gun behind their neck as they were reading it.
The state chapter said they are not aware. And if Ayu decides to challenge this matter, as we are saying, he can say they don't have local standing to suspend him. They would have done this in the Igorov ward. That's the name of the ward. Igorov ward. They would have done that.
At least we now have the opportunity of knowing the name of Ayu.
So that we know that they have local standing. But be that as it may, we keep saying that internal party structure is very important. The other time I said party is supreme. Some persons called me off air and were saying, why did I say that? Because of the G5 issue. And if the party is not supreme, why would persons be struggling to lead the party? So the same thing.
The party is supreme to the extent that the party is advancing the collective interests of members. What we see in the past, a few persons hijack the party and take a decision and say you must accept it because the party is supreme. No, the party may not be supreme in this instance. It's only supreme to the extent that they carry all the interests.
I mentioned this struggle for the soul of PDP has a lot to do with even its pursuit of.
We have had that cliche in the past. During the time of
which one?
The struggle for the soul of
PDP. Okay.
When the former Alimadu Sheriff was the chairman.
So we saw what happened.
The struggle for the soul. Who has the body? The struggle for the body.
The body is a structure. Well, once you have the soul, you inherit the structure. So.
And once the soul leaves the body, what is left? Nothing.
We saw what happened. How the Ayu-led NWC withdrew. All the cases PDP was took to court in Rivers State in respect of. So that is what will most probably also happen in this matter, because whoever takes charge of the party could decide that because we're not interested in this election, we'll withdraw or we won't support this, and all of that. So it's a whole lot of.
We'll get to the Supreme Court. May get to the Supreme Court, and it may take time before it does that. But let's leave the PDP problem for PDP members. Let's look at protests in Abuja. Now, yesterday it was a pro Bola Tinubu, pro APC, pro beautiful election elements that took to the streets. Before now, it's been those protesting against the election, saying it fell below standards and it was manipulated and all that. The protests have even been taken to the premises of foreign missions, foreign embassies. Sometimes Nigeria feel that your protests will get further traction if you take it there, and that's what we're seeing. But the pro-Tinubu group yesterday, pro-APC group said, no to interim government. So they believe some people are muting an interim government, and perhaps they've seen some smoke which we are not seeing, and perhaps they believe that it's time for them to move on, because if you keep quiet small, it will gather momentum. And they have joined issues saying there should be no interim government. It will amount to coup d'etat. The government is in place, a president-elect is in place and all that. They're also insisting that some foreign countries should congratulate the winner of that election, Bola Tinubu. It's part of their protest, I think.
Well, I mentioned, probably the other time we said that the deputy or the vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party made some comment that should these persons be sworn in, it will be a coup d'etat. And if you look at that statement very well, it's not far from this protest that you are seeing.
Maybe a reaction
to this protest. And the pro-Tinubu protest and the others calling for the process to be straight. Amechi, one concern, apart from this protest that you talked about in Abuja, one concern in the protest is the one in Nasarawa State by the women who have gone half naked in pushing for their right in quote. saying that the process was not, there are a lot of irregularities that accompanied the result, announcement of the result. They were so certain that certain candidates won the election. So, but my worry is the extent they have taken the protest to, stripping naked, and all over the world. These videos have been sent to me even from London. That
sent back to you.
Yeah, sent back to me in Nigeria. That your citizens are protesting. And good enough, we had Boris Johnson in Nigeria yesterday. Telling us, in Lagos yesterday, the Afam Osigwe lecture series.
Anya
Mosigwe, saying that Nigerians should allow, the government should allow, the authorities should allow citizens elect leaders of their choice and by choice. And that is a big one. Some people will say he's no longer the prime minister, so he has no local standing to be telling us what to do. But he's giving an advice. And this goes a long way to tell us that if Kamala Harris will be visiting some African countries and she's not here in Nigeria, it shows that we need such comments from such leaders, world leaders, to remold our image, Abichi. This protest is a big message. It's a big message abroad. If you don't know the extent this is taking Nigeria to, please go on social media, go on international media and listen and watch and see the image this has created for Nigeria. We need to rebuild this country, and I don't know how the president-elect intends to do it if the court did not upturn his election. I think by now, as he's in UK or France, wherever he is, he should begin to mold reconciliation and healing process.
Is it not being that? He has made statements towards that regard. The protests in Nasarawa State, where the women were half clad, half clothed, is quite embarrassing, and they've been doing it for days. And perhaps it was the embarrassment that forced the police to issue a statement saying they have banned protests. Yes, I understand the concern of the police in potential escalation of that matter, but from my little knowledge of the law, the police does not have the right to ban protests. Yes, there are some security implications. They should use other means rather than coming out to beat their chest. They don't have that power. No, it's not written in any constitution that the police will say don't protest. And I've always maintained you don't even need police permit to protest as long as that protest is lawful. Is lawful and peaceful. So the police, as we share with them their concerns over security, they should also know their limits, and they must not violate the rights of people in the course of their duty.
I mean, you see, most of these protests, most, if not all, are sponsored. Even the women in Nasarawa State, you can hardly convince me that they were not sponsored, to do what they were doing. And there was a motive, a reason for it. They thought by doing that they would be putting pressure on INEC to review the results in Nasarawa. But that ended yesterday. The commission met and said...
So how did you reach the conclusion that they were sponsored? Did you see money exchange hands?
Amici, there is a cause for which these people,
They voted during that election. Is that not a stake enough for them? That they are stakeholders, they are registered voters, they voted and they believe their wish was not given expression.
I said some. I said most of these protests.
I think he saved himself by saying some.
I said some. Most of these protests, are sponsored. So, but the commission, and it's not just in Nasarawa. We also have seen the protests in
Ogun State.
No, even in Ogun, in Plateau for Plateau
Kaduna,
Central. So Kaduna and all. And the reason is they believe that after the announcement, INEC will review the results. But INEC did that. The commission did that yesterday and said, look, I think they're about 96 supplementary elections that they will be holding. So it's clear. Even if we protest from now till the end of the year, INEC has taken a decision as to where the supplementary elections, we hold. I recall that the national governor 2 days or so ago was saying, look, the protest was such that they were violating the rights of other persons. If Nasarawa has a truncated route passing in the state capital, and that they were getting onto the road and stopping other road users from driving through, constituting nuisance, as it were. But just like you observed, everybody has the right.
The police should insist is stay off the road, stay in your space and do your business.
Exactly, that's what should happen. And the police should also even provide security cover for them, because there are some persons who, they'll be angry by the protests, and those women are protesting, or other persons, and they will want to attack them. We've seen that in the past, as it were. And those protesting in Abuja, maybe because others are protesting against their mandate, they are protesting in support, of their mandate. And if you say you have not seen the smoke, Amechi, for the presidency to say that there is no plan not to hand over to the president-elect speaks volumes. It shows that something
has been speculated.
Some persons, and in Nigeria, by the time you start hearing these speculations and all of that, something must be cooking, or some persons have thought of something somewhere, somehow. So clearly, that is what it is. But we need to move forward, with all of this. We've advised those who have issues. If you strongly believe that you were rigged and you have the evidence, approach the tribunal, and with the evidence and all of that, I'm sure you will make headway. Look at what happened in Osun State. The tribunal said, look, you didn't win the election. The Court of Appeal said, you won the election, and they're heading to the Supreme Court. So who says others cannot also get one?
Like I said, those that lost the election came up from the International Conference Center in Abuja, which was the National Coalition Center, where a return was made, and they got to a T-junction. A T-junction means you have a road to your right and to your left. The right leads to the court, and the left leads to the streets. Which option do they take? They took the option to go to
the street first,
the
halfway
court. And say, some of you, when we get to the court, we return and also take the left to the streets. And that's what we have seen. We have seen the PDP, led by his candidate Atiku Abubakar, also protest. And it is within their
fundamental rights.
Yes, as long as it is peaceful. I always emphasize this because I tell people always, what is guaranteed in a democracy is the freedom of expression. There are some military dictatorial regimes across the world that have fared better in terms of provision of democratic dividends than democratic ones. I'm not saying they are better, but these are facts of life you can check. But in real terms, the desire, the ideal is a democracy. And what makes the difference is not what you're getting or the economy or welfare, but that right of freedom, those fundamental aspects of our constitution that deal with fundamental human rights. And that's the first thing any military
takes away from.
They suspend those aspects of the constitution. And when they suspend it, they take that right away from you. But the right to life, the right to freedom of movement, right to
speech,
right to this.
But there's no right after speech.
Nobody, not even other parts of the constitution. If any other part of the constitution takes it away, that part says, to the extent of the inconsistency, it is null and void. So it's only a court that can waive such rights if they believe your right has stopped and that of another has commenced. So it's the beauty of democracy. I found myself in New York covering the United Nations, and I saw that's the lesson for those protesting now, because it's always we always look at it from both ends of the coin and even the edges. Yes. I saw a protest as a journalist I was covering. The police in New York guided me to the space allocated to them. Just join them there. If you want to do it, join them there. As long as you're there, they were carrying placards. I think they were protesting against the coming of the Iranian president then or so to United Nations. So if you're protesting, protest within your space. Don't constitute yourself into a nuisance, and don't infringe on the rights of others as you protest.
Indeed, like I keep saying, our democracy is developing and moving. Most of these things will learn them by the day. Don't forget that the police claim they had the right to ban. You have the right to issue permit for you to even protest.
It's baseless.
It was enforced.
Business claims.
It was enforced until Femi Falana went to court, and got a court judgment against that. Yes. And with the judgment,
not just several judgments.
So with that judgment, everybody now has a legal backing to say, look, we can proceed with this without, the permit, and all of that. So we'll gradually, it's a growing democracy. We'll continue to grow. Even from the 2019 elections, there are huge lessons to learn from the inadequacies of INEC, the political parties, 2023 elections, huge lessons, that we'll learn, moving forward to improve on what we have.
Yeah, talking about protest, we are expecting protest. We are expecting protest tomorrow by the NLC, but good enough yesterday.
Will he hold or will he not hold?
Well, from the meeting held yesterday in the instance of the Minister of Labour and Employment with CBN Governor Emefiele and the NLC President, it looks very clearly that that protest will be shelved because NLC has called for a briefing today. We hope to see that protest is shelved, but on one condition. For me, I think that NLC wrote a letter of a notification to the ministry that they are angry over the persistent fuel scarcity since June last year. They are angry over the hike in electricity tariff hike, and the naira scarcity. The naira scarcity issue is being resolved now. But what happened to the scarcity of fuel and what happened to the electricity tariff? So those two issues, hopefully, NLC will still do one or two picketing. I don't know, but until the briefing today.
There's a new leadership in NLC. Are we seeing a new strategy in protecting the interests of workers?
Yeah, persons say that NLC was not being active. I'm not holding forth for them. They were in a transition period between ending of January till this moment. That is why Ayuba Waba was leaving and Joe Ajero was coming in. What he's supposed to do, he was elected to do that. Whether he see fire or I see smoke or I see coldness, until then.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll return tomorrow with another edition. My name is Amichena.